that is going to be a huge time factor. The only one that can almost guarantee a hurry up is Goldberg and Lesnar. But I do worry for those matches, Matt, that we spoke about last week, especially Neville and Austin Aries. And I kind of think to myself now, would that be better on the pre-show? Would they actually get more bloody time on that as opposed to the main show, where it will probably just be about a 6-minute type of high-flying thing and it's all over? I don't know where it's best suited. I would like it. I would prefer it to be on the main show because I think that's where people will always go back in history and watch. But is it gonna get enough time? There are so many matches, man. You know, it's odd to think because you think all that time, how can you not fit all this in? But it always happens, doesn't it, Matt? Stuff always overruns and something happens that shouldn't happen. And you know, especially when you think about Seth Rollins and Triple H as well, Matt, like that's not even really confirmed what we're expecting them to have a segment. There's going to be... I've got a feeling this is going to be a very tight-knit kind of night, to be honest with you, the way it's all set, because they've gone on quantity here. And then would you expect, Matt, that Battle Royal goes on the pre-show?
I wouldn't be too surprised about that, actually. For me, it would either be that or just scraping in at the first match on the card.
Right.
But the other worry is, like, they've got like 2 women's belts now, you know, and that's got to go on there. And another worry is that the SmackDown one is against every woman they can find on SmackDown. You know, that's just going to be a mess.
Yeah, why have they done that? I don't understand the reasoning. Is that just to get the numbers in? Is that what they've done here, do you think?
I get the feeling with that is that they had plans for Naomi to be a part of this WrestleMania, and you know, I kind of get the feeling that, you know, if there's any chance that she'll be cleared for WrestleMania, they'll take it. And by saying any woman on the roster, that means that she could come into it. Right.
Yeah. Fair enough. I get that. I think. Yeah. You know, with that. Yeah. That. I mean, you know. I think that has potential to be a pre-show match, to be honest with you, the way that's looking. Don't forget our old friend James Ellsworth's going to be a part of that one, Matt. Still there. He's going to make WrestleMania in his first year. What a year he's had, eh? From the squash match with Braun to WrestleMania. It's better than most guys on NXT, quite frankly, at the moment. So, you can't beat that too much. As far as the entries to this whole business with the Andre the Giant thing, Matt, what names are going into this? Apollo Crews. Well, that's no surprise there. He's done pretty much nothing, has he, really, for a while? I mean, it's not a really who's who that's going into that. Do you expect that's a Braun Strowman type of tool to get him elevated, or, you know, like our email said earlier, is this a big Cass thing? But the only reason I would be not siding with that is that Big Cass would already be involved in another match, the tag team match. Not saying he can't do both, but that I would be surprised if they did both.
Yeah, for me, the sensible option does sound like Braun because he's on a dominant role, and, you know, being eliminated from that would be a little bit damaging to him when he's supposed to be the biggest dominant heel they have right now. Just makes sense for him to win it.
Yeah, especially after the past couple of months with him. You know, he's had all that great momentum and then those clean finishes that he jobbed for Roman on. I feel like WWE owe him something back on that one. And of course, the other people that are getting mentioned in there is Samoa Joe, but I don't see Joe in that, quite frankly. I just don't think they're going to put him there. I see Joe doing something with Triple H and Seth Rollins personally. I think they're going to have him involved in that somewhere, quite honestly. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me, Matt, if we have the situation of Finn Balor coming out to even up the odds that night for, you know, against Triple H.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
That would be a lot more sensible. I would rather see Seth Rollins and Finn Balor in a tag team against Triple H and Joe than I would see Triple H in another singles match at WrestleMania. I think it'd just freshen it up a bit.
Yeah, and you know, officially, Matt, I'm just looking at the card now. Like, there are 11 matches that have been officially made, and that doesn't include Triple H and Seth. I don't expect that that's going to be a made match, Matt. Do you? Do you think that's now going to be left, and they're just going to do something on the night? Is that the way you think that's going?
Well, the way it's been going, it just looks like they've left it incredibly open. Unless, something really dramatic happens tonight, and they lay it on the line with a confirmation, I think it's just left out there in the open to be... We've had this already, been waiting so long for this match, We're talking about, 18 months or so, and it's just, what's another month here or there? What's another 6 months here or there? No, if it was up to me, I would have just dropped this a long time ago.
Yeah. What's your opinion? I take it now, we're not expecting Dean and Baron Corbin now. Is that off?
I was expecting it to go on there, but maybe that's a pre-show one, which is a shame because it's for the Intercontinental title, man. I mean, that is the title that the workhorses have built around this company, And when WrestleMania was back in its fledgling kind of days and on the early 90s, the wrestlers who were carrying the Intercontinental belt went out there to actually put on the wrestling show, where a lot of the actual main event guys didn't have those kind of techniques and qualities. And although people were paying to see the big names, they were entertained by the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Officially it's not been announced. I'm not saying it's not going to be, but they've already got 11. You just wonder how many more they're going to be able to fit in, and also the Seth Rollins and Triple H thing, which is going to take time up. With everything else, with the New Day and all the rest of it. So the only other news from NXT TakeOver that weekend so far, we do have a third match that's been booked, similar to the tag team match on WrestleMania. Now we've got the announcement that I think we all knew was going to happen. Matt, you mentioned that as well, that the Authors of Pain will be in action against the Revival, who I did mention last week. I was thinking, have they been written out altogether? But they're there and DIY. So, that's not a bad match on paper, but I'm not a massive fan of the Authors of Pain, I've got to be honest with you. But I suppose it's not too bad. But again, slightly light there. I suppose we're going to expect Ty Dillinger to be involved in a match as well, coming off of what's been going on. But how do you feel about that going into that one, Matt? And are you a little bit more because I know I sent you that card of this time last year when we were looking at that card and saying how much better the NXT card looked over the WrestleMania card. With the likes of Austin Aries and Baron Corbin, and you had Nakamura against Sami Zayn, and all these tremendous matches that were going ahead with Finn Balor and all the rest of it. And, this year's very much the opposite, Matt. Very slimmed down card going on NXT this year.
Yeah, I know that. But the matches that they do have going for them, there's some pretty good ones. I don't really expect the Revival to come out on top because, they're overdue for a call-up, which is a shame because once they get called up, the tag team division is going to be left pretty stagnant. They really need an injection of fresh tag team blood down there, and they're kind of missing that right now. So I definitely assume the Authors of Pain will carry on their destruction path. But when we look at Bobby Roode and Nakamura, I don't think we had all that we could have had from their last match. I think there's a lot more that they can give, and that might have been kind of the plan for this, not give away so much in the first match to save up for the WrestleMania kind of weekend, which is a good idea, and I can see the reasoning behind that. But also, NXT has kind of hidden depths as well. Some of their records they have going, they make no mention of when they really should. Asuka, 150 plus matches, undefeated. They should be ranting and raving about that and going on and on. But we hear nothing about that. We just hear she's going to fight Ember Moon, and she hasn't beaten in about a year. But we should be really hearing the numbers and just how important that kind of match is.
No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at how they're positioning the shows this year, and I do remember actually going over this when it got announced that they're going to do it. In recent years, Matt, when it gets to the WrestleMania weekend, they normally have NXT going on the Friday, as you remember, and the Hall of Fame on the Saturday. Well, what they've done this year, Matt, they've swapped that round. So this year, on the Friday, we're going to have the Hall of Fame ceremony, and Saturday they're going to have the NXT show, and of course followed by WrestleMania. So they've switched around the Hall of Fame and NXT, and probably makes some sense there, I guess, Matt, because I guess there was always that thing about the guys that went to the Hall of Fame. They wanted to be there, but they couldn't wait to get back to the hotel to get some rest in, because they knew the next day was going to be so busy doing the publicity stuff and getting ready for your match. It must be exhausting over that weekend if you are a WWE guy. So I guess it kind of makes some sense to have it like that, because of course the guys, they're not going to have to be there at NXT, and NXT have their own staff, whereas the WWE guys do that. It's a different crew as opposed. So it kind of makes probably a lot of sense there, Matt. I would imagine when logically thinking about it like that, it's not a massive deal. But you're a little bit more happy that it's going to be that way round.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make too much difference to either way. I mean, a lot of people have their weekend off, but I suppose if you was going to see WrestleMania, it gives you a lot more space as a fan as well, because you can go see whichever indie promotion you chose on the Friday. Then you got Saturday NXT, and then you got WrestleMania. Or of course you could go to the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
absolutely. I tell you what, one thing I will say, and this is why I always want to go to WrestleMania, because it's not just these shows. I was listening to a lot of other podcasts, and Shawn Michaels came on, and he's doing this. He's doing this thing in Orlando this year, where he's got him, Scott, Kevin, and the Kid are all going to be in one place, and plus I know that they're getting a live taping from Triple H, and they're going to be doing a kind of party show, and then they're going to they're literally driving down to NXT straight after, and they've kind of like, whenever they do these shows, like Jim Ross, he has a show, Jim Cornette has a show, they always do them around the WWE stuff, so it gives you time to get round the corner and get into NXT, and they always book it in buildings close to it. I just can't imagine the vibe of a WrestleMania weekend or week in general. And so, there must be so much stuff going on. And if you are one of the lucky people that are going there, I'd love to hear your tales of what goes on and what you've been up to. Send some photos and all the rest of it. Because, it'd be really good to have somebody on the ground emailing us back. I did have somebody who done that for me last year, so if we could have somebody who you're going and share us some stuff and experiences, and we'll give you a shout out on our WrestleMania week. But that would that's what gets me buzzed up to want to go to WrestleMania, Matt, when I hear things like that and all the old legends coming into town. And of course, when we even went to SummerSlam, you get the likes of even Ring of Honor are going to be in Orlando in 2 weeks' time as well. So everybody tries to get a piece of the action, don't they? I mean, they know that there's a good 70,000 people showing up around the world. You might as well get an indie show booked somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, I mean, why not capitalise on that massive buzz that WrestleMania generates?
Yep. Yeah, I would. Well, okay, folks, I think we've come to the end of our show. I feel, Matt, a little bit more upbeat this week, despite being more and more embedded into the situation that we're in. But I think it's one of those things. I've accepted it, Matt. I've accepted what we're going to get. I think that's the way I'm going to have to go. But I'm looking forward, Matt, to our booking 7, because I think it's going to give us time to. I'm certainly going to be thinking about how we're going to. What I would have preferred as the booker. Matt, I think to lay some ground rules for that, just to let everybody in on it and what's going to be happening. I think that the idea, Matt, is that we're going to literally, I think that some of the rules will be, we can only have guys that are currently active now. So the likes of, you have Finn Balor, because we do know he's been back at live events. So if we did want to add him in, but of course, the way you'd have to book him back would be different. You'd have to book him back with, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to spare. So you couldn't kind of fantasise that he'd be there at the Royal Rumble or something like that. You'd have to position it realistically. And I think that's how we're going to work. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, of yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're going to be doing our booking 7. So we'll mishmash our matches around, I'm sure, and it'll be interesting to see